Bhavishya. I'm from Ajmer, Rajasthan. I did my undergrad from IIT Kanpur in Computer Science and Engineering, and this is my second attempt at civil services.
Second?
Yes.
So, can you explain why you want this UPSC? Because you have done BTech from IIT Kanpur.
Yes, sir. So
What's
first,
the reason?
yes, sir. So first reason would be in a corporate job, I lacked this higher sense of meaning and purpose that is available in the Indian Foreign Service. That is my first preference. Second would be, sir, I have a strong interest in international relations and political philosophy. That's why I made this.
So what will be your priority? Suppose you are selected for administrative service.
Yes, sir.
What will be your priorities?
So first would, among the service preferences?
Yes.
Yes, sir. First is IFS, Indian Foreign Service. Second is IAS, then IPS.
So can you explain recently Chinese foreign minister of China recently visited India?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain what were the matters they discussed about our relations?
Yes, sir. So there were multiple things that were discussed. The first would be the border issue. India, though, rejected the China.
Yes, voice is not very audible.
Okay, sir. So the visit of Foreign Minister Wang Yi, there were multiple issues that were discussed. First was the border conflict. India stated clearly that the bilateral relationship cannot be dehyphenated from the border issue. Second was the issue of the Indian students in China, especially medical students. Third would be the overall relationship, including trade, science and technology, exchange that were discussed here.
But this visit was not scheduled earlier.
Yes, sir. So it was a slightly sudden visit because the Chinese Foreign Ministry wanted to ensure that our Honorable PM visits the BRICS summit that is scheduled next year in China, and it was believed that due to the border conflict, Prime Minister might not attend the visit.
Do you feel that there should be any shift in our foreign policy in the backdrop of Ukraine and Russian conflict?
So my personal understanding and belief is that our stance on Russia-Ukraine war was right. We maintained, asserted our belief in sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine, while at the same time preserving our interest in regarding defense and energy with Russia, while at the same time pursuing peace and political solution.
Different types of sanctions have been imposed on Russia, but the dependence of European countries on Russian LNG and cannot be avoided.
Yes, sir.
What is the solution?
So till now, the sanction regime has not included oil and gas. So for example, most Western European countries, including Germany, depend on more than 40 to 50% on Russian energy supplies. Till now, the sanction regime has excluded that. So in short term, the European countries will need to use alternative sources. For example, US's LNG or Middle East or North Africa. And in long term, they need to transition to either clean energy, green energy, solar, wind, or nuclear.
How much we depend upon the Russian supplies of crude oil from Russia?
So in terms of energy supplies?
Yes.
So our share on Russian energy is very small. I think it's less than 5%, if I remember correctly.
What is discounted oil from Russia? Recently, it was very much in discussion.
So what
should India accept discounted oil from Russia?
So discounted
LNG?
Yes, sir. So I'm not aware of the exact details, but I assume that because Russia is under pressure of sanctions, in the discounted LNG is available to India at a discounted rate through the rupee-ruble exchange. Yes.
Suppose you were posted in Ukraine.
Yes.
Some students were telling that we are not taken or our voice was not heard. suppose you are there, what would you have done there to solve their problems of students studying in Ukraine?
Yes, sir. So first, I would try to establish a portal through MEA that would allow all the students to register where they are on different provinces in Ukraine. They are scattered, so first we need to unite them, or at least know where they are. Then I will try to use various the migration pathways and humanitarian corridors that are established into Poland and neighboring countries. And I'll try to either arrange, if we already have transport, then, or if not, then we'll try to use the local transport services. I'll try to coordinate with neighbor countries, because we have good relationship with Russia also. We'll try to diplomatically convince them to let our students and our citizens pass through humanity.
What is Nord Stream 2, which has been stopped by European countries? Can you explain?
Yes. So Nord Stream 2 pipeline goes from Russia to Europe, especially Germany, through the Baltic Seas. It supplies oil and gas to European countries from Russia. So,
one thing more, why you are so interested in foreign relations or foreign assignment, Indian Foreign Service? Why not Indian Administrative Service?
So I'm equally interested in IAS, but I think in IFS, I'm on margins, I would likely to contribute due to my interest in international relations and my interest in USA and China.
The reason?
So I have a technical background. I've been following international relations for quite some time.
The technical background is all right. You are BTech in computer science.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
But the reason why foreign
Yes, sir. So in 21st century, in coming decades, technology would drive geopolitics. In our foreign services would require people with technical backgrounds. The formation of NEST division in MEA is just an indicator of that. So I think I would better serve IFS.
What is local for global?
Yes, sir. So the local for global is part of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. So Honorable PM has asked the local producers to produce and sell goods, local products at a global level, so through e-marketing or other platforms. So for example, the local district products could be produced by the local craftsmen, artisans, and that could be sold at a global level, on global platforms.
So you are from Rajasthan.
Yes, sir.
Can you give some examples of such products
So,
which may be globally
Yes, sir.
accepted?
Yes, sir. So from my own district of Ajmer, Son Halwa is accepted.
Yes, yes.
Yes. So there's Bikaner ki kachori, and that is accepted globally. And there's Sir Bani Thani painting, miniature painting, which is accepted.
Can you explain the Atmanirbhar Bharat and Swadeshi of Gandhiji? How can you compare these two concepts?
Yes, sir. So Atmanirbharta is related to self-reliance. It does not mean autarky, that is, we are not isolating from the world, but we are ensuring that our basic needs are met and our supply chains are robust. And Swadeshi implies manufacturing and producing basic goods inside India, especially the traditional goods, which have a low negative impact externality on society or environment. So the classic example is Gandhiji's khadi, which has a whole of society approach. It serves other needs of families as well as has very limited environmental or societal impact. So that would be Swadeshi.
Okay, since you are very keen on international relations.
Yes, sir.
So what do you think Russia is trying to do in Ukraine? What are the Russian aims?
Yes, sir. So Russia, since the Crimean War, has been opposing the NATO enlargement toward east. It is also opposing the Ukraine's admission into European Union. And further, there are also imperialist aims in Russian foreign policy. So the President Putin has previously said, especially during the 2007 Munich summit, that he wants to reestablish the Soviet Empire, including Belarus and Ukraine.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
That we understand. These
Yes.
are the common things which are happening.
Yes, sir.
But the way Donetsk and Luhansk,
Yes, sir.
earlier Crimea, they have been separated.
Yes, sir.
How do you see these developments?
Yes. So there are tactical reasons and casus belli that Russia has given. So Russia has said that Ukraine has been pursuing a genocide in the Donbass and the Crimea earlier in 2014. They have alleged that there are Nazi battalions within Ukraine and they have been committing atrocities against ethnic Russians. So these were the casus belli and tactical reasons.
This is what these are the reasons given by Russia.
Yes.
But what can be the hidden reasons?
So hidden reasons would be ensuring its own security interest from
And
NATO.
how would
forces.
it secure Russian interests?
So because the Suwalki gap that is strategic in nature. So if Ukraine goes in the Western camp, then the NATO forces, tanks are directly maneuverable inside to Russia, and the Moscow is threatened from long-range missiles.
So Donetsk and Luhansk will act as buffer between
Yes, sir.
Ukraine and Russia.
And
This is
even the greater Ukraine would be neutralized. So,
what- neutralized.
yes.
Good. So tell me something about policy of 1,000 cuts.
Yes, sir. So usually this phrase is used to describe the Pakistani foreign policy or by the intelligence jihadi complex of Pakistan towards India. So since they have recognized that the conventional war is not available against India, so they are using asymmetric state-sponsored cross-border terror to bleed India by 1,000 cuts.
So who gave this policy? Who is the person behind this?
So I'm not sure of the name
Have
of
you heard something about Zia doctrine?
it. Yes, sir. Ziaul Haq. Okay, sir.
You know Ziaul Haq. So how far do you think this policy has been successful?
So though the terror groups can claim few successes, but in whole this has been a failure for Pakistan. In fact, it has it led to a back reaction in form of domestic terrorism, the formation of Tehrik-e-Taliban inside Pakistan, and the Pakistani common man has suffered most from the hands of terrorism.
If I say Pakistani foreign policy is just mauka parasti, there's
Yes.
a term
Yes.
called mauka parasti,
Yes, opportunism.
opportunism.
Yes,
So earlier they supported
NATO and US.
Americans, NATO, they were members of NATO,
Yes, sir.
CENTO.
Yes, sir.
So they supported
Yes.
Americans against Russians,
Yes.
Soviet Union.
Yes, sir.
In which year it happened? 1979, 78.
Yes, sir.
So after that in 2001, when Americans attacked Afghanistan,
Yes, sir.
at that time again they supported
Yes, sir.
Americans.
Yes, sir.
So do you think this is only opportunism?
Yes, sir. So
What were the reasons behind this? That when Soviet Union attacked Afghanistan, it was
sir.
considered as invasion upon Islam.
yes, sir.
But when America did the same in 2001,
Yes, sir.
then it was not considered as invasion upon Islam.
Yes, sir. So as Hussein Haqqani, the Pakistani specialist, explains that, sir, the basic reason is to ensure strategic depth against India. And so Afghanistan allows strategic depth to Pakistan against Indian forces. Further, by allying with USA, it availed of the advanced weaponry and foreign aid. And so during the 1980s Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, they opposed it because they were fearing that a communist power would capture Afghanistan, and that and a USSR occupied Afghanistan would be favorable to India, which would deny strategic depth to Pakistan. Now, in case of the US invasion, when President Pervez Musharraf was in charge, so in part of Bush doctrine, so George Bush pressurized Pervez Musharraf that if he does not support US invading forces, then Pakistan would have to suffer, and this would be against.
Nowadays, what we are seeing is like Afghanistan is entry to South Asia,
Yes,
right?
sir.
From Central Asian side. Afghanistan is entry gate to South Asia.
Yes, sir.
And Myanmar is an entry point for Southeast Asia.
Yes, sir.
Ukraine is an entry point for Europe.
Yes, sir.
So all these entry points are getting plugged.
Yes, sir.
Who is plugging them according to you? What are the forces behind this? And why is it happening at entry point of Southeast Asia, entry point of South Asia, entry point of Europe and Russia?
Sir.
So there are some forces, there must be some forces behind it.
Yes, sir.
So what is your analysis about it, and which are these forces?
Yes, sir. So these entry points are strategic in nature. So they directly hurt the security or economic interest of nations on both sides. So for in case of Ukraine, Russia is trying to block Ukraine and making it part of Greater Russia. In case of Afghanistan, so the regional powers, China, Iran, Pakistan, even Russia, is trying to leverage the American withdrawal and trying to establish their influence in Afghanistan. In case of Myanmar, again, China and even India as part of its neighborhood first policy and Act East policy, trying to ensure that Myanmar acts as a bridge to the ASEAN countries, and there's significant economic interest, even security interest due to terror crimes in Myanmar. So these major powers are trying to ensure.
So major powers are trying to disturb these
Regional
entry points,
powers,
right?
major regional.
So it is said that polar world
Yes, sir.
will be peaceful. It is believed.
Yes, sir.
But here multipolarization is like disturbing more.
Yes, sir.
Somewhere Chinese are interfering,
Yes, sir.
somewhere Russians are interfering,
Yes, sir.
Americans are interfering everywhere.
Yes, sir.
So how do you, there's a famous theory in political science
Yes.
and international relations.
Yes, sir.
Somebody has given that.
So regarding multipolar.
Regarding bipolarism and multipolarism
Yes, sir.
comparison.
Yes, sir. So for the realist school makes judgment whether which kind of polarity leads to greater stability and peace. So I mean, Kenneth Waltz, who is a defensive realist, believes that bipolar world is the most stable.
Exactly, I wanted to listen this name only, Kenneth Waltz. So, but here we see
Yes, sir.
that this multipolar world is becoming more disturbing,
Yes, sir.
kind of. So, what is your take on this?
So my take would be that definitely multipolar world is more unstable. It is highly likely there would be greater outbreaks of war, violence, conflicts, etc. And even historically, if we see that when Europe was multipolar before Second World War, it led to continuous violence. So from religious war to World War I, World War II. So a similar reality could be seen because earlier from 1990s to 2020, under a unipolar world, USA was the global policeman, and now hegemon. That hegemony has, some argue, has already broken, and there are regional hegemons. So China in Asia, Russia in Europe and Central Asia, and USA in Western Hemisphere. So this would lead to greater instability, definitely. Yes.
Okay, so what is your take? Like, where would this war lead to? What will be the end of Russian-Ukrainian war?
Yes, sir. So my belief is that Russia would not be able to fulfill its maximal military goals. The war would.
Why would it happen? Why Russians would not be able to achieve their military goals?
So
I think they have already achieved their military goals because they have already freed Luhansk and Donetsk and earlier Crimea.
Yes.
That buffer has been created, and this was their main aim. But capturing Kyiv or retaining Kyiv, Mariupol, Kharkiv,
yes, sir.
but it will be very difficult for Russians.
Yes, sir.
So what factors do you think would make this difficult?
Yes. First, Ukraine is geographically very large, and Russia, with less than 200,000 forces, is unable to capture Ukraine by force. Second, Ukrainians have shown strong resistance. There's a rekindling of nationalism within Ukraine. And in fact, historically, the Ukrainian forces emerged from the Soviet Union. So they are really powerful, and they are getting supplies and moral support from the West. And Russia is being at the same time sanctioned and isolated from them.
Okay, now compare this statement, whatever you have told me,
Yes, sir.
compare the same scenario with whatever happened in World War II.
Yes, sir.
At that time, Russians very successfully pushed back the Germans in the same region.
Yes, sir.
Why would they fail now?
So at that time, the Russians were on the defensive, and this time the Russians are the aggressors. So during the World War II, Germany was facing a two-front threat from the Western allies on the west.
But that came later. Stalingrad happened first. After
sir.
that, Normandy was opened.
Yes, sir. But at the same time, the German U-boats and other forces were being assaulted, and there was a Russian winter, and because the German strategy of blitzkrieg would only work if military goals are achieved quickly. But the Russian winter and the large Russian front
So if the
slowed
winters
down.
come again,
Yes.
and
Yes.
this war is prolonged,
Yes, sir.
then the result would be something else.
Yes, sir. So there would be mud in Ukraine, and
Exactly.
Russian tanks would stop.
Exactly. If Hitler's tanks slipped,
Yes,
why
sir.
won't Russian tanks slip?
Yes, sir.
How this war is impacting our country, India?
Yes, sir. So in economic terms, it would fuel inflation, it would fuel our current account deficit, it would fuel our import bills. And in strategy terms, it has created a diplomatic crisis for us because we had to balance between Russia and the Greater West. In terms of people, are more than 20,000 of our students were strayed in Ukraine. So it had a and in long term, greater instability in the region would impact our economic and other interests.
Import and export from
Yes,
our
sir.
country
Yes,
and
sir.
import from Ukraine,
Yes,
all
sir.
these things have stopped. Can you explain what are the products which are being exported from India and we import from Ukraine?
Yes, sir. So from Ukraine, I think the edible oil, oil and gas, and wheat, those were being imported. Not just in India, but in Bangladesh, etc., in South Asia. And in terms of exports, the service export, that is our students who are pursuing their medical degree.
Products.
So products would be, so I'm not aware of the exact details, but I think refined products and the usual steel and iron products.
Okay.
What about sunflower oil?
So
We are importing sunflower
yes,
oil
sir.
also from
Yes,
Ukraine?
edible. Yes,
And that will lead to huge food inflation, don't you think so?
yes, sir. It would lead
From
to
next month?
Yes, sir.
एक चीज़ ये बताइए
Yes, sir.
कि भारत और रशिया ने रूपी रूबल एक एग्रीमेंट किया कि वो एग्जैक्टली वर्क कैसे करेगा?
Yes, sir. So generally, there's a switch.
अभी एक मैकेनिज्म बनाया गया अभी फॉर
Yes,
द
sir.
टाइम भी, वो कैसे काम करेगा वो बताइएगा।
So there's a greater system called SWIFT. It would bypass that, so it would it would allow communication between Indian
स्विफ्ट
central
छोड़ दीजिए,
bank.
स्विफ्ट के कारण ही तो ये रूपी रूबल वो बनाया गया
Yes,
ना।
sir.
तो ये कैसे काम करेगा? अगर मान लीजिए मैं एक एक्सपोर्टर हूँ या मैं एक इंपोर्टर हूँ, मुझे रशिया से कुछ लेना है,
Yes, sir.
तो मैं कैसे करूँगा? उसके लिए सरकार ने एक मैकेनिज्म बनाया, उसके बारे में आपने पढ़ा?
Yes, sir.
बताइए।
So the Indian bank would have sufficient amounts of ruble, while the Russian banks would have sufficient amount of rupees. So they'll try to fix the gap between rupee. So
ये तरीका नहीं है।
so they'll try to reduce the use of dollar between the two countries. So they'll store reserves of ruble.
नहीं, ये नहीं है। ठीक है। आफ्टर 2014
Yes.
कोई ऐसी स्कीम बताइए, एक स्कीम का नाम बताइए जिसने फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन को बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ाया है, एक का नाम।
So
और वो कैसे?
So the JAM scheme, PM Jan Dhan Yojana, it has led to opening of bank accounts, and that has led to financial inclusion.
उससे बढ़ा है?
Yes, sir.
उसके बारे में तो ये भी कहा गया कि बहुत से अकाउंट्स बंद हो गए।
Yes,
इसके
sir.
अलावा कोई और भी बताइए, इसके बारे में मैंने कुछ और में जानना चाह रहा था।
So the SHG.
सेकेंडरी जो सेक्टर है हमारा,
Yes, sir.
उसको कैसे इम्प्रूव किया जाए?
First, we need full-scale reforms in all factors of production: land, labor, capital. Second, we should, since our ease of doing business has improved, but it should also improve on ground. So there are complaints that in practice.
ये समझिए कि अगर आप बिहार के किसी ज़िले में पोस्टेड हैं,
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, अब आपका उद्देश्य ये है कि मुझे कुछ बढ़ाना है यहाँ पे सेकेंडरी जो सेक्टर है,
Yes,
मुझे कुछ तो करेंगे क्या आप वो बताइए।
Yes, sir. So I'll try to ensure that there's no extra red tape or regulatory cholesterol when people are trying to ensure availability of land or environmental clearance or etc.
ठीक है।
Second would be I'll try to ensure that possibility of public-private partnership if they can get extra capital or technology.
ठीक है।
Third would be, sir, I'll try to connect them with either online platforms or some export sources where
कोई नई चीज़ बताइए जो आपकी कुछ यूनिकनेस हो, आपको लगता है कि ये चीज़ किया जाना चाहिए तो सब।
Yes, sir. So I'll try to tech enable them. So using both digital or modern technologies, we can infuse them.
अच्छा आप छोड़िए, तो
Yes, sir.
डिस्ट्रिक्ट से अगर आप सेक्रेटरी लेवल पे हैं तब कैसी स्कीम्स बनाएंगे कुछ?
So the production incentive thing could be really good. So
Good.
if you produce, you get an incentive based on your production levels, and if it increases, you get further
कैसे
incentive.
कैसे प्रोडक्शन इंसेंटिव में कैसे वर्क करेगा, क्या प्रोड्यूस करें?
So for example, let's say electronic chips. It's one of the major manufacturing goals, in secondary sector. So if you increase your year-on-year production, you get further incentive. You get export. You
चिप
get
तो मुझे लग रहा है इंडिया प्रोड्यूस कर ही रहा है।
yes, sir. But sir, we need to scale because still we rely on China for our electronic imports. So, and which has security concerns because Chinese chips could be manipulated.
और
So or in pharma, similarly we could and apart from that,
इसके अलावा
yes, sir.
हाँ।
Apart from that, so we need to start reskilling and skilling, and we should invest in labor-intensive sector so that it also solves our unemployment problem.
हाँ, उसी लिए मैं पूछ रहा हूँ।
Yes, sir.
तो उसको कैसे करें? एक तो आपने बताया कि भाई उनको कुछ प्रोडक्शन इंसेंटिव दें।
Yes, sir.
दूसरी कोई और चीज़ बताइए, और कैसे लोगों को मोटिवेट करें कि कुछ प्रोड्यूस करें वो।
So we can provide initial capital if the government can provide initial capital.
ये तो स्कीम्स चल रही, मैंने नई चीज़ पूछी थी, लेकिन अच्छा है आपने वो ठीक बताया। एक और चीज़ बताइए कि नेटो जो है, भारत का इस तरह का कोई है एग्रीमेंट किसी से?
So a security partnership?
हाँ।
No, sir. So the closest thing that was with previous Soviet Russia, USSR, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, but there is no formal ally of India.
एक चीज़ ये बताइए, आपने IFS लिखा था, तो अगर आपकी जो पहली ज्वाइनिंग होगी, तो आपके पद का क्या नाम होगा?
So third secretary would be the initial language training as third secretary, and if you complete your language training, then you become second secretary.
Apart from this,
Yes, sir.
we have done a lot of viva on international relations. About 13,000 people appeared in mains,
Yes, sir.
and about 3 lakh people appeared in prelims.
Yes, sir.
This is what I'm going to ask every student today. What do you think
Yes, sir.
made you crack prelims, and what do you think made you crack mains?
Yes, sir. So, in case of prelims, so first is really understanding the demand of the exam. So I realized that it is not about knowledge per se. Prelims was more about eliminating and making good use of limited knowledge.
How did you do that?
So first I tried to cover all the basic frameworks. So for example, I studied history as I understood everything as a story. I created a basic framework. So even if I know the exact detail, I could at least eliminate. So for example, in case of medieval history, I didn't know exact details, but I was able to eliminate them. So
How? Give me some example.
So for example, I knew how basic medieval history went, what were the major dynasties, and I tried to create a story like how were the kings, how they behaved, and I didn't know the exact dates and what all the exact details that allowed, and I also used my common sense and I integrated knowledge from other domains. So for example, I have a scientific background, so if something has some extraordinary value, so that option is not possible. And I tried to, in terms of, so for example, in polity questions, I have a background in political philosophy. So there was a question in a difference between a state and nation. So I used that background to eliminate and find the right answer.
Okay, and mains?
So in mains, I pursued a policy of simple common sense and simple thinking. So I tried to directly answer the question. I just covered my answer with an introduction and conclusion. I tried in GS, I tried to write in points in optional.